Today we're going to talk about distance and midpoint formula. I am going to start off with a real life situation, and from there we're going to solve it using the distance and midpoint formulas. Alright, the situation is this. On a map's coordinate plane, on a coordinate grid, Maryville is located at 2, 4, and Sillytown is located at 2, -2. Blucksburg is the midpoint between Maryville and Sillytown. What is the distance from Maryville to Blucksburg? 1 map unit equals 1 mile. Alright, so it told me some things. It told me that I need a coordinate plane because the map is on a coordinate grid. So I'm going to draw my coordinate plane. I am then going to label the information they told me. They told me that Maryville is located at 2, 4 on this grid. So I'm going to go over 2. I'm going to go up 4. And that is Maryville. They also told me that Sillytown is located at 2, -2. I'm going to go over 2, but then I'm going to go down 2. And this is Sillytown. They told me that Blucksburg is the midpoint between Maryville and Sillytown. So if I am looking at Maryville and Sillytown and I draw a straight line from Maryville to Sillytown, they told me that Blucksburg is in the middle. It'll be around here somewhere. So I need to find the exact coordinate. Yes, you could just count because it's a horizontal or vertical line. You can just count how many units. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 divided by 2 is 3. We know that. But what we're going to do is we are going to actually find it mathematically, because it's not always going to be so pretty. Sometimes you'll have a slanted line. And if you have a slanted line, you have to be more exact. And you can't just count as easily. Alright. So I am going to use the distance and midpoint formula. They told me that Blucksburg is the midpoint between Maryville and Sillytown. So in order to find out where Blucksburg is, I need to find out the exact coordinate of the midpoint, because that's where Blucksburg is. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use my midpoint formula. The midpoint is the average of the x's and the average of the y's. If I asked you what number is in the middle of 10 and 20, you'd say, in the middle of 10 and 20 is 15. Well, what you could do is you could say 10 plus 20. 10 plus 20 is 30. And then you can take that, and how many numbers did you have? You had 2 numbers that you're trying to find the middle of, so divided by 2, and you would get 15. You're really just going to find the average of 10 and 20, and you get 15. That's what we're going to do here. Here, we're going to say, alright, the average of my x values, I have 2 x values, divide that by 2. I'm going to have the average of my y's, add them up, divided by 2, and that'll tell me the x value in the middle of my 2 endpoints, the y value in the middle of my 2 endpoints. Alright, so they told me that Maryville is located at 2, 4. So off to the side somewhere, I'm noting that Maryville is 2, 4. They told me Sillytown is 2, -2. Sillytown is 2, -2. This will be my first coordinate. This will be my second coordinate. So I'm going to put x, y. This will be the first ones. X, y. This will be the second ones. And I'm going to plug them into my formula. Substitute them in. So now, instead of x1, I'm going to erase that, and x1 is 2. So instead of x1, I'm going to put 2. They told me to put x2. x2 is 2. So I'm going to erase that. And instead of x2, I'm going to put 2. y1, in my first coordinate, the y value is 4. So I'm going to erase y1 and I'm going to put 4. y2, let me erase y2, and I'm going to put -2. The math is pretty easy. 2 plus 2 is 4. It still has to be divided by 2. 4 plus -2. 4 plus -2. A positive and a negative, when you put them together, it gives you a negative. So 4 minus 2 is 2. It still has to be divided by 2. So then 4 divided by 2 is 2. 2 divided by 2 is 1. I have my midpoint. My midpoint is 2, 1. And they told me the midpoint is Bloxburg. So this is Bloxburg. So on my coordinate grid, that is basically a map of my town, I have Bloxburg at go over 2, up 1. This is Bloxburg. Alright. I am done. Let me make sure that I read the question and see if I really am done. What is the distance from Maryville to Bloxburg? I am not done. I found out what Bloxburg is, but I didn't find out what the distance between Maryville and Bloxburg is. I have to do that. Okay. So, to find the distance between the two, I'm going to have to use the distance formula. Alright, so let's do this, shall we? The distance formula is the square root of the difference of the x's squared plus the difference of the y's squared. That's the distance formula. I have to figure out what are my x's, what are my y's. Well, they told me I have to find the distance from Maryville and Bloxburg. Maryville is 2, 4. I just found out that Bloxburg is 2, 1. So, Maryville, 2, 4. Bloxburg, 2, 1. Alright. This will be my first coordinate. So this is my x, this is my y. These are going to be my 1s. My second coordinate, my x's and my y's. This is going to be my 2s. Alright, let's go ahead and start substituting these suckers into the equation. Here's my formula. x2 is 2. So instead of x2, I'm going to put 2. x1 is 2. y2 is 1. y1 is 4. Alright, substituted in all of my values, so now let's do this math. Okay, so this equals the square root of, I have my parentheses squared, but I have 2 minus 2. 2 minus 2 is 0. Plus my parentheses squared, but now I have 1 minus 4. 1 minus 4 is -3. Yes. So now I'm saying, okay, I have the square root of 0 squared is 0 plus -3 squared. -3 squared is -3 times -3. So negative 3 squared, negative 3 times negative 3 is positive 9. So 0 plus 9. 0 plus 9, that's the square root of 9. Square root of 9 is 3. Wait, is that my answer? The distance is 3. What did they ask me? They asked me, what's the distance from Maryville and Bloxburg? I think I just found it. Yep, I used Maryville, I used Bloxburg, I substituted into the distance formula, and I got 3. So, I got to answer it in a complete sentence because my teacher just loves it when I answer stuff in complete sentences, especially word problems. It lets her know that I know what I found and the meaning of it. It told me 1 map unit equals 1 mile. So, my answer is the distance from Maryville to Bloxburg is 3. What are the units? Units equal a mile. 3 miles. I have my answer. That's it. That is the distance and midpoint formula. You might be asking, how could it get tricky? The only way it'll get tricky is when they give you a problem like this. For a circle with center 3, 4 and an endpoint of a diameter at P21, find the length of the diameter and the other endpoint. Okay, so back to my coordinate plane because they're giving me coordinates here. Alright, so let me draw a quick sketch. It always helps me out. Life is always happy when I have a picture. Okay. Always put my X and my Y. Alright, so the center is at 3, 4. So I'm going to go over 1, 2, 3, up 1, 2, 3, 4. That is my center. I have a point. One endpoint is at 2, 1. 1, 2, 1. Right here. That's P. I need to find the other endpoint of my diameter. So if this is my diameter, I'm assuming my other endpoint would be around here. Because this is the center of my circle, I have to actually draw a circle around my center. So I'm thinking, it might even be right here. That looks like it might be a straight line. It might be the same distance. But I have to make sure. I have to be exact. So what I'm going to do in order to find the length of my diameter is use the midpoint formula because I know the center is at the midpoint of my diameter. I know that with any circle, my center is in the middle of each diameter. So they gave me this point and they gave me this point. So I'm going to use the midpoint formula with my midpoint and my endpoint to find my other endpoint. Alright, sounds like a plan. Then once I find that other endpoint, all I have to do is use the distance formula between those, and I know the distance of my diameter. Okay. So, what was my game plan? Oh, use the midpoint formula to find the endpoint of my diameter. Alright, so the midpoint formula is the average of my x's divided by the average of my y's. Okay, I have to think about what coordinates am I using. C is coordinate 1. Actually, no. C is my midpoint. So, C is my X and Y, but it's for my midpoint. and then this is my x and y for my first coordinate, and it could be my second coordinate. It doesn't really matter. Alright, so I know that my midpoint is a coordinate. My midpoint is xy, and I'm just going to put an m there so I know it's the x of my midpoint, the y of my midpoint. So I know that when I do this right here, when I do this math, it will give me the x value of my midpoint, and I do this math, it'll give me the y value of my midpoint. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to substitute in the information that they gave me. They gave me the x of my midpoint. The x of my midpoint is 3. So instead of the x of my midpoint, I'm going to put 3. And the y of my midpoint is 4. I'm going to put 4. And that equals, my first x value is 2. So instead of x1, I'm going to put 2. And my first y value is 1. So instead of y1, I'm going to put 2. Alright. Me knowing what the midpoint formula really tells me, I know that 3, which is the x value of my midpoint, I will get that from doing 2 plus x over 2. From doing that right there. Actually, oops, my y1 is 1. I always check and make sure I substituted in my numbers correctly. Okay, so I know that this 4 will be getting from this. So I will get this 4 from doing 1 plus the other y value divided by 2. Alright, this math doesn't look too bad. I have a fraction and I have an unknown in my fraction. So I'm going to multiply by the denominator. When I multiply by the denominator, that helps me simplify it so that I have 6 equals 2 plus x. Ooh, it's easy to solve for x now. Just minus 2 from both sides. That'll get x by itself. Now I have x equals, let's see. X equals 6 minus 2, 4. Cool. Let me do it this one. Alright, so, my unknown is in a fraction. So that means I need to multiply both sides by my denominator. That'll help me simplify that so that it becomes 2 times 4 is 8 equals 1 plus my y2. So now, minus 1, that would get rid of this. And now my y2 would be alone, and that equals 8 minus 1, 7. Okay, I have my x2 and my y2. So now I know 4, 7 is the other coordinate of my diameter. So now when I go back to my graph, I can go to 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, up 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Ooh, that's where I said it was going to be. And that is my other endpoint. I don't know. I'll call it E for endpoint. I now have an idea of where my circle is. My circle looks like this. Nice little circle. Alright, so what did they ask me though? They asked me for, the other endpoint. Great. The other endpoint is 4, 7. So I found this. That's 4, 7. They asked me for the length of the diameter. So now that I have my 2 endpoints, I'm going to use the distance formula from P to E, and that'll tell me how long and the distance between my 2 points. Easy peasy. Here we go. Distance formula. The distance formula says the distance equals the square root of the difference of my x terms squared plus the difference of my y terms. squared. That's the distance formula. Alright, so what coordinates am I using? I'm using P, which is 2, 1, and I'm using E, which I just found the other endpoint to be 4, 7. Those are the two endpoints of my diameter. Okay, so I'm going to say the distance is, I gotta label it. Okay, so this will be my X, my Y for my first one. This will be my X, my Y for my second. I'm going to say, okay, substitute it in. So, instead of X2, I'm going to put 4. So, let me erase X2 and put 4. Instead of X1, I'm going to put 2. Instead of Y2, I'm going to put 7. And instead of Y1, I'm going to put 1. Alright. So, math. The distance is the square root of my parentheses squared. 4 minus 2 is 2. Plus my parentheses squared. 7 minus 1 is 6. The distance is the square root of 2 squared is 4 plus 6 squared is 36. The distance is the square root of 40. Bam! Got my answer. Now I know that the length of my diameter is the square root of 40 units. Alright. That's it. Put my answer in a complete sentence and I'm done. Okay, here's my answer. The length of the diameter is the square root of 40 units. And the other endpoint of the circle is 4, 7. Got it. That's my answer. Let me read the question one more time and make sure I answered it. Alright, it said find the length of the diameter, did that, and the endpoint, did that. I'm done. I hope these two examples of distance and midpoint formula helped you with your future math endeavors. If you have any questions, let me know, comment, text me, whatever you need. Make sure you ask questions because that is the only way you will receive answers. Alright, I hope this helped. Have a great day.